Hi everyone, Ruffany Scab Tano here, the internet's busiest music nerd, and it's time for a review of this new Earl Sweatshirt and The Alchemist project, Voir. New collaboration between California rapper Earl Sweatshirt and production veteran The Alchemist. Alc has worked with multiple generations of rappers, just about everybody in the game at this point. Meanwhile, Earl continues to build up his post-Odd Future abstract hip-hop empire, making some pretty huge strides in the underground rap space, redefining its landscape with one minimal, fragmented, loop-heavy mood piece after another. And while these guys have done tracks together before, they've been yet to really seal the deal with an entire project of material, which is exactly what Voir is. Now, in typical Earl fashion these days, this record is kind of scant and is 11 tracks long, runs just over 25 minutes, and also in Earl fashion, the material here is understated, it is measured, it is patient, pretty much continuing the formula he forged on the 2018 classic Some Rap Songs. And I think most fans would agree that Earl really hit upon something with the intensely depressive and poetic material on that record. But since then, seemingly, he's been in much more of an emotionally stable state, and as a result, some of his newer material hasn't come across quite as dark, and instead is reading as more confident, self-affirming. But the original Earl formula here remains: the simple and haunting beats, the mostly monotone delivery, as well as all the esoteric framing and wordplay. And there is something entrancing about the way Earl does it, which, depending on the track, can work in this album's favor or against it, cause there are some moments on this thing that I think breeze by without leaving much of an impression, be that the intro, 100 High Street, where I do love that cold-blooded bar about Earl beating his demons, but I just wish there was more to the track generally. It is so short, it is so bare bones, it feels more like a sketch or a motif than a song. I feel roughly the same about Vin Scully. The smooth guitar loop and vocal cutoff sample on the beat are sick, but I just wish Earl sounded more awake and engaged on the track. Sometimes his malaise or nonchalance is just a bit too much to bear. There's also Heat Check, the first leg of which I love, as Earl sounds like he's in a lyrical and rhythmic flow state, especially with devastating lyrical gems like this. But his focus and intensity kind of falls off by the time we hit the refrain at the end of the track. Heat check. Heat check. Yeah, I'm checking, and there is no heat coming off this part of the track. The brevity leaves me kind of cold on a few other moments on this LP as well, namely 27 Braids, where it feels almost as if Earl ends the track mid-thought, and the song is suddenly overtaken by this ambient interlude, but I will say at least it kind of transitions us effectively into DEUCE. My least favorite track on the LP most likely has to be Century featuring Mike, and while I understand the artistic and personal connection that Earl and Mike share, I just get so little out of hearing both of them on a track given that their respective styles are so similar. Not to mention I don't think it's a strong performance from either artist, as they're both kind of indiscriminately flowing over the bass and vocal loop underneath them with no regard for the groove that the loop is bringing. It feels more like a run-on sentence than a rap. I much prefer the tracks on this thing that feature Vince Staples, not just for the contrast and chemistry between these two dudes, but also these cuts are the longest and most thoroughly barred up songs on the entire project too, those being MANCALA and the CALIPHATE. The latter is an almost heavenly lead-up single to this record that I get more out of every single time I spin it, and the former is a lyrical meditation that features all of these nostalgic piano loops, inspiring lyricism from Earl about advancing over the years, while also taking the good with the bad when it comes to the tumultuous and varied relationships he has with each of his parents. Meanwhile, Vince is equally as passionate and memorable on the song with bars like this. Sliding like an abacus, promise it's a math to this? There are some deep cuts on this thing where Earl takes the reins solo and they come out pretty great, be that DEUCE with its mystical keyboard lines and engaging bars from start to finish. Earl is pretty verbose on this one and really packs it in. There's also SIRIUS BLAC, where I think lyrically Earl is uncharacteristically funny on this one, calling out his fans for leaking his shit onto the internet, while also saying, "I nicked my hand on a backboard glass, shattered it like Shaq, shaky as Shaq down, don't get smacked out here trying to act wild." And I think Earl comes across funnier than usual on the song Dead Zone too, despite this track being backed with one of the darkest beats on the entire LP. That newfound glory brought the bands in line is cute, and also the Joe Biden reference with the popcorn, corn pop being a bad dude thing, which is shortly followed up with hit a few extra laps because I want to act like an ass, like POTUS Blue Notes, not standards. Then there's the closer, Free Henry the Ruler, which is probably the best self-portrait this project has to offer, with some endearing lines about Earl's return artistically, while also showcasing layers of self-awareness and guilt on lines like these. Overall, I think this project is pretty good. Certainly a small step up from Sick not too long ago. We've already known Earl and Alchemist work really well together. On this project, they're just proving that they can do it while going the distance. My biggest reservations with the LP is that it's a little one-dimensional. There's some tracks here and there that are kind of underwhelming, especially toward the front end of the project. And in a way, at this point, I feel like Earl creatively is painting himself into a corner a little bit, as stylistically and conceptually, he hasn't evolved all that much since like 2018's rap songs. But again, with all that being said, good project, decent project, feeling a light 7 on it. Transition, have you given this record a listen? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you rate it? You're the best, you're the best. What should I review next? Hit the like if you like. Please subscribe and please don't cry. Hit the bell as well. Over here next to my head is another video you can check out. Hit that up or the link to subscribe to the channel. Anthony Fantano, Voir, forever.